going on, Dragon Ball fans? Welcome back to another Dragon Ball fan manga review, where today we're going to be reviewing a Dragon Ball fan manga entitled Dragon Ball Yardrats, which is the story of Goku having to travel to planet Yardrat and not only learning the instant transmission technique, but also interacting with the Yardranian people and the threats that were posing planet Yardrat and allowing Goku to step in to defend the Yardranian people. As for many years now, I've been reviewing and introducing all kinds of Dragon Ball fan mangas to the world created by the community for the community, so if you guys are interested in seeing and reading up on incredible stories and concepts such as Dragon Ball AF, Dragon Ball Legendary, Dragon Ball New Age, Dragon Ball X, and many others, then feel free to check out the Dragon Ball fan manga playlist in the description box for more videos such as this, as right now we are going to be diving into a brand new manga chapter. As before we begin, if you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and turn on all notifications to be the first to know when a new video is posted onto this channel, as we kick off Dragon Ball Z Yardrats manga chapter number 1 with Super Saiyan Goku having to be depicted on planet Namek moments before the planet's eruption. And this was a very memorable moment because here Goku did not know what to do. He was left abandoned by himself on this planet moments before its destruction, as the narration goes on to state Planet Namek, December 24th, age 762. As we see the planet begin to change and crumble within itself, Goku stands in the middle of it having to state, Chi-Chi, Gohan, my friends, I'm sorry I didn't get to say goodbye to all of you. I can never leave this planet, basically giving off a very desperate vibe, as Goku goes on to state, it seems like I will die on this planet, but at the very least I was able to rid the universe of that tyrant. And that's when Goku spots a space pod behind him and having to state, what? A space capsule? It seems very similar to Vegeta's, as Goku immediately rushes towards the pod and stating, I have to hurry, it might be my only chance. In an act of desperation, because Goku does not know what the outcome is going to be, as Goku quickly rushes inside the space pod, he goes on to state, damn it, I don't know how this thing works. Well, here goes nothing, come on, and we see Goku just punching coordinates, and immediately the space pod takes off, as Goku continues in stating, phew, I'm saved. That was way too close. I don't know where I'm going, but one thing is for sure, I will find you, my friends. As Goku disappears, Planet Namek is now officially destroyed. And it is a terrifying moment to realize that at this point, Goku could have died alongside with the planet, but with the luck of having to find a space pod, he manages to escape. As the narration goes on to state, Goku soon drifts into a deep slumber. Unbeknownst to him, the space capsule is leading him to a strange planet. So Goku basically passes out due to all the pain inflicted on his body, the trauma that he had endured, and it looks like on day 6, Goku manages to land on an unknown planet. And the Yardranian people look up in the sky as they see this unknown spacecraft having to travel through their planet. We notice how Goku manages to crash his ship within the mountain area, and we see how the glass within the actual space pod begins to break. As Goku's body begins to fall into the abyss, he is immediately saved by one of the Yardrats via instant transmission. As one of the Yardrats goes on to state, oh, a stranger, and he's hurt, which concludes manga chapter number 1, as it basically recaps Goku's final moments on planet Namek, which later leads him to be discovered by the Yardranian people, as we move on to Dragon Ball Z Yardrats manga chapter number 2 within the capital of Yardrat, and we see how one of the Yardranian people goes on to tell Goku, greetings stranger, and Goku wakes up not knowing what's going on and stating, hi, where am I, and who exactly are you? So they basically patched Goku up, just as we remember in Dragon Ball Z, as the Yardranian goes on to state, my name is Nori. You're currently on planet Yardrat. And Goku goes on to state, planet Yardrat? As Nori goes on to ask Goku, and what about you, stranger? From what world do you hail? As Goku replies by stating, my name is Son Goku, and I come from Earth. As Nori continues in stating, your arrival on this planet has caused lots of fear. Please don't attack us. We are pacifists. Take all the time you need to regain your strength. And Goku's like, oh, don't worry about that. I just want to get back home. As the Yardrat goes on to state, perfect. Here's your new outfit. And Goku being Goku, he gets up naked, and the Yardrat goes on to state, oh, I'm not supposed to see this. As Goku puts on his new outfit, the Yardranian goes on to state, that Yardrat outfit is delightful on you. I think I found my Prince Charming. As Goku completely disregards his comment and having to state, it's a little uncomfortable. I'll take some time having to get used to it, but what do you think? As Nori goes on to ask Goku, kiss me, my hero, and Goku's like, no, I don't want to. And that's when Goku's like questioning all of this because he has no idea what's going on. And that's when Goku begins to run and stating, help, help, get me out of here, please. And finally, as he leaves, he notices that the Yardrat had used instant transmission. But Goku doesn't understand nor seemingly can fathom as to what's going on. He seems to be trapped. As Goku goes on to state, I can't move my body. And that's when Nori goes for a ferocious right kick to Goku's jaw as Goku comes crashing down onto the floor. As Goku goes on to state, haha, it looks like Chi-Chi has turned into a Yardrat, I see. And that's when the Yardrat goes on to state, wherever you go, I'll find you. You can't hide from me, my love. And that's when another Yardrat appears and having to state, Nori, leave the stranger alone and stop bothering him now. As right before Nori leaves, Nori goes on to state, see you soon, Goku, and disappears. And that's when this unknown Yardrat goes on to state, forgive her for her attitude. And Goku's not really mad, but that's when the Yardrat goes on to state, I'm sorry, but you must come with me, and takes Goku off using instant transmission to an unknown area. And we see them both standing there somewhere on a cliff, as we see a bigger Yardrat having to stand there as he turns around and asking, I have a question for you. Are you a member of the Ginyu Force? And Goku's like, no, not at all, I have nothing to do with Ginyu or his men. As the Yardrat goes on to ask, then why did you arrive on one of their ships? As Goku goes on to respond by stating, oh, so that was one of theirs. Well, they came to planet Namek. I defeated them before one of my allies killed them. As the Yardrat goes on to ask, the Ginyu Force were defeated? Who are you? And Goku's like, of course, I'm Son Goku, a Saiyan from planet Earth. As the Yardrat goes on to state, impossible. The Saiyans all died from a meteor strike. If you're still alive, then you must not have met the Tyrant of the Universe yet. As Goku goes on to state, and yet here I stand. Oh, you mean Frieza. It was probably the most difficult fight of my life. Our battle tore the planet apart, but eventually Frieza's pride got the better of him. He died along with the planet that he destroyed. As the Yardrat goes on to state, impossible. The invincible Frieza. Vanquished? What sort of power does this man possess? I'm eternally grateful to you for taking out these threats. My name is Soba. I come from Yardrat's cousin planet. One day the Ginyu Force landed on my planet and exterminated the population. I fought with all I had, and although I was able to take one of them down, the rest overwhelmed me and left me for dead. I managed to reach Yardrat with one of the ships they had left behind. The Yardrats avoided being exterminated by Frieza's family by offering spacecraft maintenance services. It was a fragile peace at best. I knew that one day the Yardrat people would once again be in danger, and I had to become stronger to protect them. As Soba continues in stating, for you to take down Frieza, you must wield unimaginable power. As Goku laughs, they both begin to shake hands. As Soba goes on to state, I, Soba, on behalf of the Yardrat people, thank you for freeing us all. And Goku goes on to state, well, I'd like to ask you something. Could you teach me that teleportation technique? As Soba goes on to state, I'm sorry, Yardrat tradition demands that it must be taught by the wisest among us. And he's been in hiding ever since I made a deal with Frieza's family. Stay as long as you wish if you seek him. And that's when Goku flies off and stating, thank you, I'll go look for him then, as manga chapter number 2 comes to a close. Which I really did enjoy the story of Goku after explaining that he had defeated Frieza and the Ginyu Force, because the native people on Yardrat originally thought that Goku was going to be somewhat of an enemy, but in fact, he actually turned out to be a good guy. As we move on to Dragon Ball Z Yardrats manga chapter number 3, and we see how Goku's flying around, as he goes on to state, I've been flying around for hours, and I still can't find the wise man. As Goku lands on down, he goes on to state it's time to stretch for a little bit, but meanwhile, out there in space, we see how a very familiar spaceship is hovering around, and we see how somebody ends up arriving in front of King Cold. As King Cold goes on to state, who dares approach me? Give up all hope of leaving here alive, and we notice that it's actually a Yardrat. As King Cold sits there drinking on his drink, he goes on to ask, who are you to disturb me? As one of the Yardrats goes on to state, greetings your majesty, my apologies for the intrusion, but I have some very important information to pass on to you. As King Cold goes on to state, I'm listening, but it better be worth your life. As the individual goes on to state, a few days ago, a stranger crash landed on planet Yardrat. he appeared on a ship that belonged to the Ginyu Force. This stranger identifies himself as a member of the Saiyan race, and claims to have defeated the Ginyu Force. And King Cold doesn't really care because he's sipping on his drink as he goes on to state, the Ginyu Force would have done well to focus on their training rather than indulging in their own lust for pointless dramatic flair. As the Yardrat goes on to state the same can also be said about Lord Frieza. And King Cold is like, what? Frieza? Defeated by a lowly Saiyan monkey? Impossible! As his drink shatters, the Yardrat's beginning to fear Cold and stating, I'm sorry, your majesty. As King Cold goes on to state, those filthy apes, I will not allow our family name and empire both to be stained by a pathetic swine. I will kill every last one of those bastards. As for you, I remember saying you wouldn't leave here alive, remember that? And that's when King Cold shoots out a death beam right through the Yardrat's heart as the Yardrat goes down. And as soon as King Cold leaves the chamber, he goes on to state chart course immediately for planet Namek. And someone get rid of this bloody Yardrat. Meanwhile, back on planet Yardrat, we see how Goku's beginning to train, and he's training by himself. He really doesn't have anyone to speak to, anyone to train with. He doesn't even know where he is. But then out of nowhere, Goku turns around and states, where is this ki coming from? That's strange. I thought I was out here alone. Could it be the wise old man that Soba told me about? His ki disappeared again. He can control it. I'm gonna force him out of hiding. And that's when Goku begins to shoot out some energy blast until we have the reveal of the wise old Yardrat. And that's when Goku notices him and stating bingo and goes right towards meeting him as the old Yardrat goes on to state, you have a strange way of welcoming people, young man. Who are you and what do you want? As Goku once more goes on to state, my name is Goku. Are you that wise Yardrat? I've been looking for you for quite some time. As the Yardrat goes on to state, yes, follow me. With Goku responding by saying, cool, I'll be back soon. I have something I really need to finish quickly. As he goes on inside the cave of the wise man, we see how Goku's beginning to eat a feast as he's beginning to speak to the Yardranian. As the Yardrat goes on to state, so, you are very strange. As Goku responds by stating, I can say the same about the Yardrats. They have some amazing abilities. Could you tell me about them, Grandpa? And that's when the Yardrat's like, Grandpa, no, my name is Hushiyu, and those abilities, I was the one that taught them all. And without me, the Yardrat people would be doomed. I defended the Yardrats against invaders who came to colonize their planet. I continued in this manner until the day I met Soba. I felt like he had the makings of a leader, so after a while, I let him take my place. But when I found out that he had abandoned his responsibilities after facing the Ginyu Force, I felt tremendous shame. Believing I had somehow made an error in judgment, leaving Soba in my place, I exiled myself to this region. As Goku goes on to state, don't worry, I've already taken care of the Ginyu Force. As the Yardrat goes on to state, really? Really and truly? How could I ever thank you? And Goku's like, well, how about a match? And the Yardrat's like, okay then, a match it will be. And that's when we finally get to see Goku engage in combat against this Yardrat. So in base form, Goku does understand that the reason why he can't hit this man is because he's using instant transmission. And keep in mind, this is before Goku knew about the instant transmission technique. But as they're beginning to fight, we understand that this old Yardranian is very wise when it comes to combat. Because after a while Goku's facing off against him, we see how his dodging skills are very impressive, but after a while, Goku manages to catch up, in which later we get to see how the older Yardrat goes on to state how insolent. You will learn not to judge a book by its cover. Because of you, my clothing is soaked. As Goku goes on to state, oh, you're angry? Then start getting serious then. As the Yardrat goes on to state, prepare yourself, boy. Now you will see exactly what I am made of. And it looks like the Yardrat is using a very similar technique to that of the after image technique, which is very interesting because Goku goes on to state he's so fast, and he begins to get hit from all angles. And the Yardrat goes on to state, give up Goku, you're completely outmatched. And he is really delivering shots to Goku, but keep in mind, this is Goku at his base form, not having to use any other means of increasing his power. As Goku goes on to state, you're gonna lose now, and uses Kaioken as the replacement to fight off against the Yardrat. And that's when the Yardrat goes on to state, what monstrous energy. I can't keep fighting that. And Goku goes on to state, Your copies have disappeared. I mean, did you already give up? But then we notice how the Yardrat is slowly beginning to clinch onto his heart as he falls back down onto the ground. And Goku panics and stating, wait, what's wrong? As he rushes towards the Yardrat begins to respond by stating, don't worry, I forced myself a little bit too much there. This has been happening regularly now for a few years. Let's go home. I need to rest. And Goku's like, okay, whatever you need. But meanwhile, back in space, February 3rd, age 763, where planet Namek once was, we see how King Cold's men go on to state, Your Majesty, planet Namek was indeed totally destroyed. Look, sire, isn't that your son on the screen? And King Cold notices Frieza on the screen by stating, what did you just say? My son? And they're like, yes, see for yourself. As King Cold goes on to state, Frieza's body must be recovered immediately and placed within the regenerative capsule. As King Cold goes on to state, so, that Yardrat was telling the truth. Send my personal squadron to that planet Yardrat and give them the order to kill that Saiyan on sight. And if they can't do it, I'll rip the head off that filthy monkey myself. As manga chapter number 3 comes to a close. Now, I really do enjoy the engagement process behind why Goku's on this planet, why Goku is specifically here in learning the technique, how he learned the technique, but also seeing King Cold more involved to me is something of quality because we never really got to see what King Cold was made of before, and I really do enjoy the process of what King Cold has to offer now, especially that he's willing to offer his own services to kill Goku if that ends up being the case. So either way, I want to know what you guys have to say down in the comment section below. What are your thoughts on Goku learning the instant transmission? Do you guys think that perhaps maybe King Cold is going to find Goku, fight Goku? What are your thoughts on the entire engagement process between Goku and the Yardrats? Let me know what you all think in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching. Once more, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys go ahead and slap a like down below if of course you guys are new to this channel and of course love anime and Dragon Ball. Don't forget to punch that subscribe button, turn on all notifications to never miss a single upload. Tune back in for more. If you guys have missed out the previous fan mangas, I will leave links to those down in the description box below. Thank you all once more for watching, and I'll be catching you all in the comment section below. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.
This is the legendary Super Saiyan. Before I destroy you, I'm going to need you to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming and turn on notifications to never miss a single upload. Also, follow UnrealEntGaming on these social media platforms. And if you don't, I'll destroy you along with your entire planet.
What, Broly?
Frieza.
Uh-oh.
Prepare to die!